We're about to embark on a journey deep into the psychology of anxiety. We're not just going to talk about the sweaty palms and the feeling of dread. We're going to uncover 20 genuinely surprising facts that will peel back the layers of this incredibly common human experience. Fact 1. Your anxiety is an ancient survival mechanism. This might sound like a justification, but it's a fundamental truth. The physical sensations of anxiety are the result of your body preparing for intense physical action. Your adrenal glands flood your system with adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart rate increases to pump more oxygen to your muscles. Your breathing becomes shallow and rapid to maximize oxygen intake. Your pupils dilate to let in more light so you can see threats better. This is the famous fight or flight response. There's also a third, less talked about response, freeze. Like a deer in headlights, sometimes the safest thing to do is to not move at all, to become invisible. All of these reactions were incredibly useful for escaping a bear. They are significantly less useful when you have to give a presentation. But the key takeaway is this: your body isn't broken. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do, just at the wrong time. Fact 2. Procrastination is often a symptom of anxiety, not laziness. How many times have you put off an important task, opting to clean your entire house or watch hours of videos instead? We often label this as laziness or poor time management. But very often, the root cause is anxiety. It's not the task itself you are avoiding, but the uncomfortable feeling the task generates. Maybe you're anxious about not doing it perfectly, so you don't start. Maybe you're anxious about the negative feedback you might receive, so you delay the moment of judgment. This is called avoidance coping. By putting off the task, you get a temporary sense of relief from the anxiety. The problem, of course, is that the task doesn't go away. The anxiety just builds, creating a vicious cycle where the pressure mounts, making it even harder to start. Recognizing procrastination as an anxiety response is the first step to breaking that cycle. It's not a character flaw. It's a coping strategy that has backfired. Fact 3. People with anxiety may have a higher IQ. This one seems completely backward, right? How could a state of worry be linked to intelligence? Well, several studies have found a fascinating correlation, specifically between generalized anxiety and verbal intelligence. The theory goes that people with high verbal intelligence are better able to consider past and future events in great detail. They can run complex scenarios in their minds, exploring every possible negative outcome. This cognitive process is, in essence, the engine of worry. While it can be distressing, it's also a sign of a brain that is powerful enough to imagine and analyze multiple abstract possibilities. So, if you find yourself constantly overthinking and worrying, it might not just be anxiety. It might be the side effect of a very active and capable mind. Fact 4. Your gut is your second brain and a major source of anxiety. Have you ever had a gut feeling about something? Or felt butterflies in your stomach when you were nervous? That's not just a metaphor. Your gastrointestinal tract is lined with more than 100 million nerve cells, a network so extensive it's often called the second brain or the enteric nervous system. This second brain is in constant communication with the brain in your head through something called the gut-brain axis. What's truly amazing is that about 95% of your body's serotonin, the key neurotransmitter responsible for mood, is produced in your gut, not your brain. When the delicate balance of bacteria in your gut is off, it can directly impact your mood and lead to feelings of anxiety. This is why stress can cause stomach issues and why an unhealthy diet can, in turn, make you feel more anxious. It's a powerful two-way street that we are only just beginning to fully understand. Fact 5. Anxiety can be contagious. Think about a time you walked into a room where two people had just been arguing. You couldn't hear what they said, but you could feel the tension in the air, right? That's a small example of a much larger phenomenon, emotional contagion. Humans are social creatures, hardwired to pick up on the emotional states of others. This is thanks in part to mirror neurons, brain cells that fire both when we perform an action and when we see someone else perform that same action. They help us empathize. But this system also means we can unconsciously absorb the stress and anxiety of the people around us. If you spend a lot of time with a highly anxious person, their rapid speech, tense body language, and worried state can trigger a similar response in your own nervous system. You can literally catch their anxiety, much like you'd catch a yawn. This is why choosing who you spend your time with is so crucial for your own mental well-being. Fact 6. You can literally smell other people's anxiety. This might sound like something out of a science fiction movie, but it's grounded in real science. When we are stressed or anxious, our bodies release specific chemical signals through our sweat. These are not the same as regular sweat. They are pheromone-like chemical messengers called chemosignals. Other people, even if they aren't consciously aware of it, can detect these signals through their sense of smell. Research has shown that when individuals sniff sweat collected from people who were in a state of fear, the parts of their own brain associated with empathy and fear light up. They become more vigilant and may even start to feel anxious themselves. This is another layer to the idea of contagious anxiety. It's not just about body language and tone of voice. It's a primal, chemical communication happening completely below our conscious radar. It's one more way our ancient survival instincts are trying to keep us safe by alerting us to potential danger in our social group. Fact 7. Chronic anxiety can change the physical structure of your brain. This is where things get really interesting and a little concerning. Prolonged, intense anxiety doesn't just feel bad. It can physically reshape your brain. Think of your brain as a muscle. The parts you use most get stronger and bigger, while the parts you use less can atrophy. In an anxious brain, the amygdala, which is the brain's fear and threat detection center, can become enlarged and hyperactive. It's constantly on high alert, looking for danger everywhere. At the same time, another crucial brain region, the hippocampus, can actually shrink. The hippocampus is vital for learning, memory, and emotional regulation. It helps put things into context and tells the amygdala to calm down when a threat isn't real. When the hippocampus is weakened by the constant flood of stress hormones like cortisol, you lose some of that ability to regulate your fear response. This can lead to memory problems, difficulty concentrating, and a feeling that your emotions are spiraling out of control. The good news is that this is not permanent. Practices like mindfulness, therapy, and exercise can help reverse these changes and restore balance to the brain. Fact 8. Anxiety can produce physical symptoms that perfectly mimic serious health problems. Have you ever been convinced you were having a heart attack, only to be told it was a panic attack? You are not alone. Anxiety is a master of disguise, and it can create a wide array of terrifying physical sensations. This is because the fight or flight response affects nearly every system in your body. That intense adrenaline rush can cause chest pain and a racing, pounding heart. The rapid, shallow breathing of hyperventilation can lead to lightheadedness, dizziness, and tingling or numbness in your hands and feet. Muscle tension from being constantly on edge can cause chronic headaches, back pain, and jaw clenching. You might experience stomach churning, nausea, or sudden urges to use the restroom. The tragedy is that these symptoms are very real and very frightening. They can lead people into a cycle of health anxiety, where every strange sensation is interpreted as a sign of a catastrophic illness, which in turn creates more anxiety and more symptoms. Understanding that your mind has the power to create such profound physical feelings is a crucial step in learning to manage them. Fact 9. An obsessive need for control is a hallmark of an anxious mind. Do you find yourself meticulously planning every detail of your day? Do you create spreadsheets for vacations and feel a surge of panic when things don't go according to plan? This powerful drive for control is often a defense mechanism against anxiety. The world feels chaotic and unpredictable, which is terrifying for an anxious brain. So, it tries to create a sense of safety by controlling its immediate environment. The logic is simple. If I can control everything, nothing bad can surprise me. This can manifest as overplanning, perfectionism, or being rigid and inflexible. You might find it difficult to delegate tasks because you believe no one else can do it right. While it provides a temporary illusion of security, this strategy ultimately backfires. Life is inherently unpredictable. Trying to control every variable is exhausting and sets you up for constant disappointment and frustration when reality inevitably fails to follow your script. True peace comes not from controlling everything, but from learning to accept uncertainty and trust in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. Fact 10. A simple drop in blood sugar can feel exactly like a panic attack. Here is a fact that is both incredibly surprising and incredibly practical. The feeling of a sudden, out-of-the-blue panic attack might not be purely psychological. It could be triggered by something as simple as what you ate or didn't eat for lunch. This condition is called hypoglycemia or low blood sugar. When your blood sugar levels dip too low, your body goes into emergency mode to fix it. It releases a flood of hormones, including cortisol and adrenaline, to tell your liver to release more sugar into the bloodstream. Does that sound familiar? It should. These are the very same hormones that trigger the fight or flight response. The result is a sudden onset of symptoms that are nearly identical to a panic attack. A racing heart, sweating, shaking, dizziness, and a profound sense of dread. If you notice your anxiety spikes a few hours after a meal, especially a meal high in sugar and refined carbs, you might be experiencing a blood sugar crash. Paying attention to your diet by eating balanced meals with protein, fat, and fiber can be a surprisingly effective tool in your anxiety management toolkit. It's a powerful reminder of the deep connection between our physical bodies and our mental states. Fact 11. Social anxiety is amplified by a cognitive bias called the spotlight effect. If you dread social situations, you're probably familiar with this feeling. You walk into a room and feel like every single eye is on you. You're convinced everyone is noticing your slightly mismatched socks, the awkward way you're holding your glass, or the stammer in your voice when you say hello. This intense feeling of being scrutinized is a psychological phenomenon known as the spotlight effect. It's a cognitive bias where we dramatically overestimate how much other people are paying attention to us. In reality, most people are wrapped up in their own worlds, worrying about their own metaphorical mismatched socks. They are the main characters in their own movie, just as you are in yours. Studies have confirmed this. Researchers had students wear an embarrassing t-shirt and walk into a classroom. The students estimated that about half the people in the room noticed their shirt. The actual number? Less than 25%. Your social anxiety is projecting a giant, imaginary spotlight onto you, making you feel exposed and judged. Knowing that the spotlight is mostly in your own head can be a powerful first step in dimming its bright, intimidating light. Fact 12. Anxiety can make you more empathetic. This might seem counterintuitive. When you're lost in your own storm of worries, it can feel like you have no energy left for anyone else. But paradoxically, a history of anxiety can make you incredibly attuned to the emotional states of others. Because you are so intimately familiar with distress, fear, and unease, you can often recognize it in other people more quickly. You see the subtle shift in their posture, the slight waver in their voice, the flicker of fear in their eyes. This heightened perception is a side effect of your own brain's threat detection system being turned up to 11. But instead of just detecting threats, you're also detecting emotional pain. This can transform a personal struggle into a form of superpower. It allows you to connect with people on a deeper level, to offer genuine understanding, and to be a source of comfort for others who are struggling. Your own experience with the dark gives you a unique ability to see in it and to guide others who are lost there. Fact 13. That strange feeling of a lump in your throat is a real anxiety symptom. Have you ever felt like you have a persistent lump or tightness in your throat that won't go away? No matter how much you swallow or drink water, you might worry that something is physically stuck there. This sensation is so common it has a medical name, globus sensation or globus pharyngeus, and it is a classic physical manifestation of anxiety. It's a direct result of the fight or flight response. When you are anxious, your body tenses all its muscles in preparation for action. This includes the tiny, intricate muscles in your throat. When these muscles tighten up, it creates that distinct feeling of a lump or a band constricting your airway. It's completely harmless, but it can be incredibly distressing because it can make you feel like you can't breathe or swallow properly, which then feeds the anxiety, creating a vicious cycle. Understanding that this is just muscle tension, a physical echo of your emotional state, can help rob it of its power and allow those muscles and you to relax. Fact 14. Anticipatory anxiety is often far worse than the actual event. Think about an upcoming event you're dreading. A job interview, a difficult conversation, a flight. Now be honest. How much time have you spent worrying about it? The anxiety you feel before something happens is called anticipatory anxiety, And for many people, it is far more torturous and prolonged than the feared event itself. Your brain, with its powerful imagination, runs endless catastrophic simulations. It plays a movie of everything that could possibly go wrong, over and over again. You experience the failure, the embarrassment, the judgment 100 times in your mind before the event even takes place. Then, when the actual event happens, it's often over relatively quickly and is rarely as bad as the nightmare scenario your brain concocted. The suffering is in the waiting, in the dread. That's where anxiety truly does its damage, stealing your peace and joy from the present moment by forcing you to live in a terrifying, imagined future. Learning to pull your mind back from these future catastrophes and ground it in the present is one of the most vital skills in managing anxiety. Fact 15. Anxiety can be a powerful fuel for creativity. While we often associate anxiety with paralysis and inaction, that restless mental energy can also be a wellspring of creativity. The anxious mind is rarely quiet. It's constantly making connections, asking what if, and exploring different possibilities, even if they are negative ones. This constant stream of thought, this hyper-awareness of the world, can be channeled into creative pursuits. Many of the world's most celebrated artists, writers, and musicians have described their anxiety not as an obstacle to their work, but as an integral part of their creative process. The need to make sense of a chaotic inner world can drive someone to create art. The intense emotions fueled by anxiety can be poured into a song or a story, creating something deeply relatable and moving. The overthinking that torments you in daily life can become a meticulous attention to detail in a painting or a novel. When harnessed, the powerful engine of anxiety that generates worry can be repurposed to generate incredible works of imagination. Fact 16. Your physical environment can trigger your anxiety. Take a look at your desk or your living room right now. Is it chaotic and cluttered? That visual disorder might be contributing to your anxiety more than you realize. Our brains are naturally drawn to order and predictability. When our physical space is messy and disorganized, it bombards our visual cortex with excess stimuli. Your brain has to work overtime to process all the visual noise, leaving fewer cognitive resources available for things like focus and emotional regulation. This can lead to a subtle but persistent feeling of being overwhelmed and stressed. A cluttered environment can also be a source of guilt or shame, whispering to you about all the things you haven't done. Conversely, creating an orderly, clean space has the opposite effect. It sends a signal of calm and control to your brain, reducing cognitive load and lowering stress levels. Cleaning and organizing aren't just chores. They can be a powerful, hands-on form of anxiety management. Fact 17. Your brain has a built-in worry network. Ever wonder why your mind seems to wander directly to your worries the second it's not occupied with a task? You can thank a specific brain system called the Default Mode Network, or DMN. Think of the DMN as your brain's screensaver. It's what becomes active when you're not focused on the outside world, when you're just daydreaming, thinking about yourself, or ruminating. For many people, this network is a place for pleasant reflection. But in people with anxiety, the DMN is often hyperactive and has a negative bias. When your brain goes into this default state, it doesn't wander through green pastures. It falls into well-worn grooves of worry about the past and fear of the future. It's the neurological basis for that incessant inner monologue of what-ifs and should-haves. This is why practices like mindfulness are so effective. They train you to disengage from this automatic, anxious network and bring your attention back to the present moment, essentially changing your brain's default settings over time. Fact 18. Anxious people are often better, realistic pessimists. While it might not sound like a compliment, being a realistic pessimist can be a genuine strength. Most people operate with something called an optimism bias, a natural tendency to believe that they are less likely to experience negative events than others. This is why people text and drive or don't save enough for retirement. Anxious people, however, often lack this bias. Their minds are finely tuned to scan for potential threats and negative outcomes. While this can be exhausting, it also means they are often better at risk assessment. They're the ones who think to pack a first aid kit, who read the fine print on a contract, or who notice the small but critical flaw in a plan that everyone else overlooks. Their tendency to consider the worst-case scenario isn't just unproductive worrying. It's a form of mental preparation that can help them avoid real-world problems. In a team, the anxious individual is often the invaluable voice of caution that prevents the group from making a reckless mistake. Fact 19. Anxiety has a strange and paradoxical effect on memory. Anxiety is a double-edged sword when it comes to your memory. On one hand, it can completely wipe your mind blank. We've all experienced this. You're in a high-pressure situation like a test or a public speech, and suddenly you can't recall information you knew perfectly just moments before. This happens because the intense stress response diverts your brain's resources away from the hippocampus, the area responsible for memory retrieval, and towards survival functions. Your brain has decided that remembering a fact is less important than preparing to flee from a perceived threat. But here's the paradox. On the other hand, anxiety can burn certain memories into your brain with incredible intensity. Highly emotional events, especially fearful or embarrassing ones, are flagged by the amygdala as being critically important for survival. The brain then encodes these flashbulb memories with exceptional vividness and detail. It's why you can forget what you had for breakfast but remember every single mortifying detail of a social blunder from a decade ago. Your anxiety acts as both an eraser and a permanent marker for your life's experiences. Fact 20. Your brain is not fixed, it can be rewired. This is perhaps the most important and hopeful fact of all. For a long time, it was believed that the adult brain was a static, unchangeable organ. But we now know this is completely false. Our brains possess an incredible ability called neuroplasticity. This means your brain is constantly changing, adapting, and reorganizing itself based on your experiences, thoughts, and behaviors. Remember how chronic anxiety can enlarge the amygdala and shrink the hippocampus? Neuroplasticity means that this process is reversible. Every time you choose to challenge an anxious thought instead of accepting it as truth, every time you use a relaxation technique like deep breathing during a moment of panic, every time you face a small fear instead of avoiding it, you are actively carving new neural pathways in your brain. You are strengthening the circuits in your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain, and weakening the overactive pathways in your amygdala. You are not a passive victim of your brain's wiring. You are the architect. Change is not only possible, it is a fundamental property of how your brain works. Your anxious brain is not a life sentence. It's a starting point.